I was saying thank you so much for having me, and I'm especially excited to talk about this book. I think the work that Academy Divin Library is doing is really exciting because we all have come out of this period of about a decade or even maybe 15 years of kind of the erosion of publishing, but especially wine publishing. But the truth is there's a lot of great writing that it's really worth preserving and celebrating. And I think Academy Divin is really uniquely focusing on that. And actually, like, it's not just a book, it's a gorgeous book. And the list of people that they've brought together is really quite incredible. And it actually, for me personally, it felt like an achievement to be asked to be part of a book like this. Like, just because the collection of people they've brought together, again, I have so much admiration for the other writers in the book, and the idea that I'm one of them is kind of overwhelming. So I really admire what they're doing. They all have a previous edition called On Bordeaux. That's a similar idea of a compilation book. And they're currently completing the next iteration, which is on Champagne, which will be really fun to see. And we all love champagne, so it'll be great to read about that too. Okay, but today I was asked to talk specifically about one of 3 chapters I wrote for the compilation on California, and it's specifically on lesser known regions of California. And so we'll talk about more than is simply mentioned in the chapter, but I wanted to kind of talk through some of the ideas that I share in the chapter as a setup, because for me, wine education is about offering information that lasts beyond any particular vintage. So we can always talk about the specific wines of a vintage, and that's interesting and valuable, and it helps us make buying and drinking decisions. But when we talk about this bigger picture of the conditions that create those wines year to year, then we can retain a kind of understanding that persists past any particular vintage. So that's sort of where I come from in terms of wine education and wine writing. And so what I'd like to do is actually just start by looking at, just 2 maps. We're going to keep it simple today, but it's always great to remind us where we're talking about. And so this is a really basic map of California, but you can see the whole state here. The California Wine Institute put this together. And again, it's just meant to be very simple, broad brushstrokes. But the big point is that it highlights the major regions of California. And so we're going to spend some time today talking about that big gray one there in the middle of the state. And so that is the inland valleys, or the Central Valley, that a lot of people are aware of. The Central Valley has a reputation for being quite hot. A lot of the kind of bulk wine vineyards in the state grow there. The Central Valley is actually one of the most important agricultural regions in the United States. It grows a lot more than just grapes. The southern half is really the important agricultural zone. It is the San Joaquin Valley, fed and partially created by the San Joaquin River, one of the 2 biggest rivers in California. And then the northern part, which is slightly smaller, not quite half of the Central Valley, the northern part is the Sacramento Valley. And again, it's fed and partly made by the other biggest river in California. So both of these rivers come out of the Sierra foothills, which you can see there in the yellow section on the right. And the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, again, 2 largest rivers in California, they come out of the Sierra foothills, and then they actually join together in the Central Valley around the town of Lodi and form the California Delta region that Christopher is highlighting there with the orange arrow, and we'll talk about that more in a minute.